Packers fans out here to stay. Cheeseheads green and gold all day. Jordan Love lead us to the bay. Every game we find a way. Green Bay hustle, grind it up. Hit the field, we don't bluff. Touchdown dances, feel the love. Jordan's got that MVP stuff. It's time for let's go. Packers bringing that show. It's time for you know. Green and gold gonna glow. Lambeau Field, our sacred ground. Feel the vibe, hear the sound. Packers fans so loud and proud. Jordan Love, he's wearing the crown. Lambeau Field, our sacred ground. Feel the vibe, hear the sound. Packers fans so loud and proud. Jordan Love, he's wearing the crown.
Aloha and welcome back to the Ohana Packers Edition podcast. Today, we put a bow on the 2025 season as we close up our coverage of the 2026 draft cycle, which includes the Packers picks along with their UDFA signings. But first off, we're going to go into a topic near to dear one Iowa Joe's heart in the Packers exercising Lucas Van Ness's fifth-year option. This is a move that I don't know to say whether it should have been expected or what, but I feel like it was one the Packers needed to make because of what Lucas means to the team, from both being their best run defending edge, being the projected starter across from Micah, and on top of that, being a player who was legitimately on the rise last season before he injured his foot and just couldn't get back healthy after the team needed him to come back earlier than he probably wanted to because of injuries to Devontae Wyatt, lack of counting production from Rashawn Gary, and Parsons eventually blowing out his knee. So, we're going to go into it later, certain people's complaints or thoughts about the move, but I think this is a prudent move by the Packers because, as we've seen from the team and most other teams in the NFL, exercising the fifth-year option is a signal that you don't want the player and team to be on that contract in the coming year, in the option year. This is generally shown to be a stepping stone to a longer-term extension with the player. And if Lucas plays to not just the level he was at, but the ascension that he was showing to be on prior to his foot injury in 2025, this is going to be honestly a money-saving move for the Packers because you just don't see guys who are as disruptive as pass rushers like Lucas was showing pre-injury. You don't get those guys sub $15 million a year. It just doesn't happen. So I say all that, and now I turn the mic to Joe, our token Hawkeye. Please let us know how good of a move this was for the Packers.
I think this decision, and this is our second go around, and you said this before that, the Packers picked up Darnell Savage's fifth-year option but didn't re-sign him to a contract. Then last year they didn't pick up Quay Walker's fifth-year option, and now he's off the team. And I think they kind of regretted the Quay Walker one a little bit because of how well he played down the stretch. And it's like, well, that'd been nice, but, they made up for it in a way with the Zaire Franklin trade. But
it took a lot of shuffling of the deck chairs, and it worked out in a way, but also at the same time, it worked out in the sense that Zaire is a more consistent player than Quay. He's not going to cost as much as Quay over the terms of their deals, but is still an older player. Zaire is still the older player by like 5 years or 6 years than Quay is.
No, Quay is...
Oh, no, 4 years. Sorry, I'm doing the math wrong. Yeah, he's 26 and Zaire is 30. But he's older. Like, he's a whole contract older. And on top of that, like I said, it took sending out a tangible player in Colby Wooden, and I don't think that's a position the Packers want to be in and year out, where it's like, okay, cool, we upgraded, but at what cost and what, constraints did we put on ourselves? I know that they ended up drafting Chris McClellan and all that kind of stuff, but it's like, it's not going to work out in every season that, okay, we moved a guy, but we found a guy that we think is better than the guy we moved. It's like, there's a lot. That was a long flow chart that Gutekunst had to hit on multiple spots. And honestly, on some level, I think contributed them moving up in the third round to make sure they got McClellan, as opposed to kind of letting, they might have been more conservative with letting the board play out, and maybe they still move up to get him, but they wait another like 4 to 5 picks kind of thing instead of like moving up as early as they did. So thank you for bringing that back up. Like Joe said, we've had some technical difficulties, so we're doing a hard reset on the episode. But Joe, take it away. You're Hawkeye.
But I mean, you hit most of the points. He really was turning around last year. Let's see. Let's do the math again, Mike. So this will be year 4 for Lucas Van Ness. Year 4 for Lucas Van Ness. How many defensive coordinators has he had in that time?
This is going to be number 3.
How many different fronts has he had in that time?
Who knows? No one knows the answer to that.
So, but he's had a steep learning curve since he's been taken in the first round, 4 years ago. So a lot of people don't take that in effect. They think he needs to do it now. He needs to do it now. He needs to do it now. I get that, but he still has only played, I think, at most, or the most he's played last year, or was last year, with 45% of the snaps. Before that, it was like 30% and 33%. Well, you can't. That's not a good gauge on him. But when he's been in there, he has been a dominant type of player, even if you don't see it, because he does a lot in the run game, he does a lot in the pass game. He's done so much that even when Micah Parsons was traded to the team, he specifically called out Lucas Van Ness as a guy he wanted to play with. And that's even with Rashawn Gary on the team after getting paid the money that Rashawn Gary was getting paid. Oh no, I'm not worried about Rashawn. Lucas is the guy that I want to be on the team with. But I've got a couple of clips here that I'm going to go ahead and play from our most favorited people in the world over at ESPN in Milwaukee.
Packers exercise Lucas Van Ness's 5th-year option. And I was like, I'm not losing my mind. That's the stupidest thing ever, right? And you said,
duh. That's not. You're not losing your mind at all.
I was just like, am I missing something?
If Lucas Van Ness is not good next year, then we're going to have an issue, because that means that this team is not elevating their level of play, and now they're stuck with him. Micah Parsons needs somebody across from him who can beat guys one-on-one. Lucas Van Ness has not showed us that he has the ability to beat guys one-on-one. If Lucas Van Ness was just a guy, cool. But Lucas Van Ness being a first-round pick,
13 overall pick,
who is now being paid as one of, not the top, but getting paid handsomely well, he needs to perform better. He absolutely has to perform better, and it needs to start this season. There is no more hold in his hands. There's no more making excuses. Lucas Van Ness needs to play like a first-round pick.
All right,
There's
so as
so
you
many
guys
things
heard,
that are stupid and wrong with that. Continue.
well, the whole thing's stupid and wrong with it. That he can't beat one-on-ones, well, that's wrong. That he's just a guy, that's wrong. This guy's an athletic freak. We all knew that he was an athletic freak when he was drafted. He's flashed his ability in his limited time. Again, I go back to the fact that Micah Parsons, when he was traded to Green Bay, specifically called out Lucas Van Ness as being a guy he wanted to play with. We see the videos of Sorrell and them out there working out with Micah. I don't know if Lucas is or not. They really haven't showed him or not. But even if he's not, they're going to get plenty of work together in the mini camps and everything else. I don't see where these guys are coming from, where it's the quote-unquote stupidest thing ever and he's just a guy. And I swear that these guys here are just... We call them out it seems like every year there's clips that we're calling these same guys out on. I don't think they know how to watch football.
They're just gotcha reporters. Like they're like those sucker fish that you get that they stick on the side of your fish tank and they kind of filter the shit out of the water. They're just bottom feeders like that who will throw a takeout so that in the event that they hit on their 1 out of like 30 dumbass takes, they can say, "See, we told you about that." Don't mind that we totally were absolutely wrong, because, like you said, they don't know how to watch film. They don't understand the nuance of the game. They're just hot take reporters. Whatever angle you want to take on it, like, they're just bottom feeders. And I guarantee you, they're gonna cling on to their stupid Jordan Love takes, which these are basically the same takes they made about Jordan Love 2 years or 3 years ago, when the Packers, they didn't exercise the official fifth-year option, but they, for all intents and purposes, gave him a fifth-year option extension. This is the same thing on repeat. It's just they're using a different position. First off, dumbass with the glasses saying he's one of the top paid players at his position. Can you count? Like, these things are on Google. You can go to Over the Cap, Spot Track, or whichever site you want to use. This is like from Parks and Rec, when Leslie is first meeting Ben Wyatt and is imploring him that Parks and Rec department is very important, and Ben does the thing on the pyramid where he's like, Parks and Rec is all the way down here. Lucas Van Ness, whether he's at 14.5, if he's at 14.5 million, he is tied for 30th in average per year salary in the NFL by signing his fifth-year option. And that number goes down, and if it's the 13.8 number, he's all the way at 30, 31, 32, 33. So he's 33rd. So, again, that's why I say they're hot take bullshit takes, because they can't even fucking Google things to make sure they're fact-checking it right. Second off,
And on
like you
top
said,
of that,
yeah.
if Lucas goes on and has like a 10-sack season and all that stuff, and Micah does what he does, they're going to come back and say, "See, I told you. I told you he was a good player. I told you he was a good player."
Yeah.
That fifth-year option was a great pickup.
And then even the comment about no one's going to hold your hand. He's playing like 5 different positions last season. Like, he's playing 5 different positions, partly because you're expecting Rashawn to be excellent across from Micah. Started the year that way, but really tailed off hard after the first month of the season. And then you get into the Wyatt injuries, nobody else amongst the defensive interior stepping up. All of that factored in. And then Lucas himself got injured. And, and just, if he doesn't have a sack for the first 3 games, it's going to be like, oh, he's not good, he's injury prone, all that kind of stuff. Lucas hasn't missed games basically at all in his college or NFL career. So, again, do your freaking research, but it's stupid. It's so dumb. And then to complain like, oh, if Lucas, let's say, has another 5-sack season, okay, $15 million is about what you pay for someone to come in and give you 5 sacks on a season. So again, what the fuck are you guys talking about? Just waste of oxygen, honestly. Like, yeah, like, people complain about like, oh, some blowhards on the beat and stuff like that. These are the ones you should be complaining about. People who are paid to just throw crap on the internet and have a platform because it's edgy. It's cool. They don't agree with everyone. Oh yeah, but it's
that's
like,
how they make money.
and that's why like I don't follow a lot of the mainstream radio channels and stuff, because especially the ESPN ones, they all think they need to each have their own first take equivalent show and stuff, and it's like just waste of time, waste of airspace, waste of brain power and stuff. So it's whatever. I think it's a worthwhile exercise for the Packers, and like you said, if Lucas goes out and has a season where he performs the way that Joe and I think he will, it's simply a matter of time where he's going to get the contract that Rashawn was playing on. And I know some will say, like, well, how did that work? Remember, Rashawn blew his knee out basically in the season that Lucas broke his foot. So, obviously, this is also a test the waters period where the Packers get to see, like, is this going to be a long-term lingering issue? And that's why losing your mind over 1 year, okay, so he has 2026 and 2027 to prove that he is going to be that guy. And if you have to move on and cut your losses, at the end of that, you'll still have 1 more year of Baron Sorrell, you'll still have 2 more years of DDS, and in there, sprinkled in, you'll have extended Parsons. Colin Oliver will probably still be around, and you'll have drafted another edge rusher or two. And that's not an indictment. Me saying that isn't necessarily betting against Lucas. You've got to have a bevy of pass rushers, and you should be taking one every season. Just because you have to be able to affect the quarterback in this game. And the Packers have shown that they they invest on the defensive front, put in their time to find guys who can rush the passer. So, I think it's a worthwhile time for them to, like I said, and of course it's not mine or Joe's money. So who are we really? You can take that angle, but $15 million for a productive edge rusher is nothing in this league. And on top of that, as Joe kind of alluded to earlier, he's not just a pass rusher. Lucas is your best edge setter in the run game. And it's not just that he should have sack numbers. His presence should help Micah also get sack numbers because he's very gap sound. He's rush lane sound as a pass rusher. He doesn't give up the move. That was the thing is like, everyone throws around the low light of Rashawn taking the inside lane against the Bears that let Williams get outside and complete that fourth down prayer pass that kept the Bears in the game. Lucas doesn't do those things, and Rashawn should know better, being like a 7th-year pro, and at the same time the pressure to put up stats makes guys take risks. And overall this should be a better defensive front. Wyatt's the one you're knocking on wood that he can stay healthy. Parsons, you just need to see him come back and be the same guy. I know he won't be absolutely the same, but if he's 95% of the player he was pre-injury, you're going to be just fine. And Lucas just needs to keep doing what he's been doing, and the counting stats are going to come for him. And Joe, feel free to try and interject whenever you want to. Again, we're going through some mic issues, but and that's why I'm just filling in here as much as we need to go with this. But or we'll circle back to it when Joe gets it sorted out. But for now, like I said, the Packers, they have their playbook. The only thing that those two dinglings got right is that, this is the prudency that the Packers front office works with. And no, they were totally fine paying Darnell Savage to have a nothing year in 2023. They'll be fine. If Lucas tops out as a 5-sack guy in the NFL, that's fine that you're paying him $15 million in 2027. The cap will have gone up. You'll have hopefully gotten a step forward from Sorrell or the dentist, or you'll have found another guy in the first couple days of the upcoming drafts. But the Packers are doing this in the expectation that they'll be paying Lucas a new contract in another year, basically. So it's a prudent move because, it's not stupid for them to take this gamble. The stupid thing would be for them to just say, no, we're not doing it, and then be totally behind the eight ball, where Lucas does break out like we thought he was breaking out last season. But because there's no Rashawn, because Lucas is the starter opposite Micah, and Micah won't be there, there's the possibility that Micah starts the season on PUP, so Lucas is the top edge rusher for the first month of the season. You don't want it to be in a world where he has a 13-sack season and then it's like, oh, why couldn't you resign him? Oh, well, we didn't think it would be a worthwhile use of money to pick up his 5th-year option, so we just didn't. And now we're counting on Barron and Dennis to step up in their third and second seasons respectively. So it was a prudent move. Trying to say that it's dumb or explicitly out of pocket is just, honestly, it's wish casting, and they're wish casting for the ability to report in a year or two, but that's the stupidity. The comment and the thought process on ESPN Madison's side is the stupidity. The Packers are making the prudent move. And like I said, I've never had a problem admitting I'm wrong. I to this day still can't believe they got what they got for Dontavian Wicks, and then on top of it extended Reed. But my thinking was he was going to cost more than his guaranteed money was on his current contract. So I was wrong, but also at the same time, things happened that I did not expect to play out. So, like I said, we've put out some scenarios, but save for a James Pierce type scenario coming forth about Lucas, he is going to be a contributor for the Packers in 2026 and 2027. And honestly, I have expectations that he will be with the Packers through 2030. That's the reality I think the Packers are, not, like I said, not hoping for, expecting to come forth for them. But we'll put a bow on the Lucas situation because, like I said, it's not going to play out until we're midway through this season. But Joe and I have full confidence in Lucas performing this season. All right, so now we shift our focus to the 2026 draft picks and UDFAs. So, excuse me as I choke. So the Packers, I think Gutekunst did we kind of recapped it for the first half of the draft, but didn't get our thoughts for day 3. But I think Gutekunst did an excellent job filling the biggest needs on this roster. So, just to recap, Packers end up making 6 selections over the course of the 2026 draft. In order, Brandon Sis at 52, Chris Cisse. I'm gonna spell it correctly, but I'm so sorry, Brandon. Chris McClellan at 77, Danny Dennis Sutton at 120. Jager Burton at 153, Domani Jackson
now
at 201.
that's the one that nobody knows. Is it Jaeger or is it Jagger or what? And nobody's been able to I have a feeling it's going to be a Tunyon thing here pretty soon.
I hope he just says Jaeger for the vibes.
Yeah, but then you've got Jagger because he's got the moves like Jagger. So, which one goes better?
Then his parents should have given him 2 G's. But Domani Jackson at 201 and Trey Smack at 216. So in there, Gutekunst doubled down at cornerback. And there had been a couple seasons in a row where he said that he'd given both we like what we have, but we also want to improve the depth in the room. This is the first time in several years where he has followed through on that sentiment, on the latter sentiment that they want to infuse more talent at the cornerback position. McClellan and Dennis Sutton add to the defensive line room. I don't think either. Well, Dennis Sutton definitely not, but I don't believe McClellan will be a day 1 starter. I think that so long as Wyatt is healthy, you're going to get some combination of Wyatt and Brinson, or Wyatt and Hargrove. Just that'll be your starting duo. I think it'll be two of those three.
Well, and I think it depends on what the starting front, what if they're going to be 3-4, 4-3.
Yeah.
Because there could be a possibility where you're looking at your starting 4 or something like Micah, Wyatt, and Hargrave as an end, so that leaves open one of the defensive tackle spots. So that could theoretically be a McClellan fit. A lot of it will just depend on what training camp looks like. So yeah.
Yeah. So, and then of course, even if they do show their base being a 3-4, the odds are that they're probably going to open the season in nickel, just because their opposition is probably going to open in some kind of spread.
Well, hey, we're going to find out soon, because supposedly the elusive Jonathan Gannon is going to be facing the media on Monday, so tomorrow.
If he comes out and says, I am going to run a 3-4 as my base, I'll be shocked, because there's so many people are wringing their hands over this. There is no reason for Gannon to come out either to just unless he's absolutely BSing and doing the opposite. There's no reason for him to come out and say that I'm going to hedge one way or the other, unless, like I said, he's smoke screening in the opposite direction. So, that said, I appreciate the depth that was added to the defensive line room, addressing one tackle, one edge. Obviously it would have been nice to get more than one tackle, but, you only made 6 selections. Use one of those picks to move up and get McClellan, who is a very talented prospect. And then there is still the option to go and do something like sign DJ Reader in free agency if they really wanted to. There's a couple like street free agents, or it gives an opportunity for guys like a guy like Jonathan Ford to show, that his improvements that led the Packers to bring him back to Green Bay are sufficient for him to, make his spot on the 53 man. So we'll see as it plays out.
And that also includes, the possibility of Brinson and Stackhouse improving from year one.
Yeah. And Brinson, I think, is already a step very well in that direction. He was a pretty heavy contributor as a 6th-round pick last year. I thought he flashed multiple times, and it's a matter of finding that level of consistency at his floor as a player, and then, injecting those highlight flash plays every, at when he can take his shots. Burton is immediately one of your top 8 offensive linemen. I do hope that it's between him and Monk to be center 2 on this roster. I do see a scenario where if Monk, in-house, they view Monk really strongly, having improved in year 3 at this point really well. I can see a scenario where Burton, who spent, like 2/3 of his college, half to 2/3 of his college snaps at the guard spots, they could, cross-train him there. I think that's a better fit than what I think have been stupid attempts to cross-train Monk at guard and center, whereas he's more of a pure center than he is a truly flexible interior O-line player, whereas Burton, I think, could play any of the 3 interior spots. But Burton is one of your top 8 automatically, and I don't think just purely because he's a Goot draft pick, but because his tape in college is that good, and the athletic upside, the profile, he's really good. Jackson, again, I appreciate that they doubled down on corner and took a guy where I know that I was like more of a Thaddeus Dixon guy, but at least they took someone who has pedigree as a 5-star high school prospect and did play well at times in his college career. And yes, 2025 was a down season for him, but you're swinging at the upside in round 6, and I like taking that swing for a guy who profiles as a perimeter quarterback, which is where you've had your issues the past few seasons. You're basically quadruple covered at slot right now as the roster stands. They need to find more answers on the perimeter, so Cisse and Jackson give you multiple lottery ticket scratch-offs at the perimeter quarterback positions.
And I like Jackson. I was really when we did I did the corner episode with Perone, he was one of the guys that I talked about, and I liked what I saw out of him. I just didn't think he was going to be a Packer type of pick, but he's got the high RAS, he's got the makeup,
height, length,
there, like,
weight. Yep.
Yeah. So, he's one of those that right now has kind of a slightly low floor, but he's got a hell of a ceiling that, he could be. I hate to think of it this way because I really like Brandon Cisse too, but this could be one of those things like the second rounder plays okay, but the 6th rounder is the real star of the draft. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying that there's a possibility there because of the tools that Jackson has.
Yes, exactly. Like, you're taking and I agree with you. I didn't have Jackson high on my likely because I figured he was going to go late day 2, early day 3 because other teams would take a swing on the upside, the 2024 film. And, I don't know if there's a medical or the 2025 film just rubbed teams that wrong way, but this is a quintessential.
This whole draft was weird.
Yeah, this was a quintessential Packers pick, and I've seen some people try to liken this to the Kalen King situation. The big difference there is that the similarities end at the similarities end at each player had a bad final year in college and came into that final season with day 1, day 2 projections, but Jackson is literally running laps around King, both as a physical like build specimen and as an athlete. He's got him beat in both sides. So that the like situation is similar, but the players are totally different kind of players. Where King had to prove that. First off, he had to prove that he was in NFL slot, and then that whether he could hack it on the perimeter, whereas Jackson is like profiling as a perimeter NFL cornerback. So, like it. And then the final pick. And you know what? We'll just start the discussion here because, ironically, the final pick of Gutekunst's draft class got the most scrutiny out of the fan base because, oh my sweet heavens and stars, our GM traded up for a kicker. Let's rewind to 2023. So,
Same fucking situation.
yeah. So the Packers draft Anders Carlson. Reality, if you really look back on it, the Packers were stuck picking Anders Carlson because...
And they traded up for him.
Right. Because, okay, and it's twofold because the run-on kickers went... And Gutekunst basically didn't try to blow smoke about it. He flat out told the media, yeah, the run-on kickers went a half round to a round earlier than we expected, and we were left in a situation where we felt we needed to move up to make sure we got someone. And, he didn't want to say the last kicker we wanted, but he sugarcoated with our options were dwindling and we wanted to make sure we got a player we coveted. In reality, it really did seem like you made a move, let's not sugarcoat it on our end either. It was a desperation move to get the last guy that you deemed as a draftable grade kicker in that class. So fast forward 3 years to 2026, and Gutekunst, smarting over the lessons he learned 3 seasons ago, said, fuck it, I'm not going to get left with my boxes around my ankles again. I'm going to move up. And everyone's belly aching over trading 2 7th-round picks. When these are the same people who are like, why are you getting excited about 7th-round picks? They don't matter. So, you can't have your cake and eat it too in this sense. I commend Gutekunst for learning from his past mistakes and saying, fuck it, I'm going to go and get the guy that I like most. And what's really stupid, and, people are using, causation to formulate their theories and stuff, but they look at it and go, oh, well, Goot moved up and no other kickers got drafted. The reports then come out like the week after the draft that 2 to 3 other teams were interested in Smack and they were all ahead of the Packers between where the Packers moved up to get him in round 6 and their first of the 2 7th-round picks. So no, his name is not Drew Stevens or Dominic Zavada, but at the same time,
Or the Tokyo Toe.
Yeah, or the Tokyo Toe, who has a signature drink at one of the coffee shops near my house. But, which I'm going to just say now, I know it's his nickname, but you don't want to be drinking a drink with the word toe in the name. It does taste good, though. But,
Mike likes feet confirmed.
Just my wife's. But, oh God, let's steer back on track.
Hey, we don't
as much as you and I both wanted to stump for our college kickers or each other's college kickers, in all honesty, I commend Gutekunst for learning from the past and saying, no, this is the guy that we are staking our claim to, and on top of it, if that is the thought process you have and the mountains you move to get said player, and like I said, I know I'm leveraging 2 7th-round picks being moved for Smack, but he's the kicker. Brandon McManus, pack your bags, goodbye. You've done enough damage.
We've both said that it's not that we were against him taking a kicker. The issue we had with Smack was he's a warm weather kicker going to a cold weather team. Now, supposedly Smack said in his introductory press conference that, well, I grew up in Maryland and I kicked in Maryland. And it's like, yeah, but Maryland winters are a little bit different than that Green Bay winter and that Chicago winter. But, if you think you can do it, more power to you.
The one thing
So-
I'll admit I probably sold him short on is Florida's field is notorious for being not very good. And so at least he's got that side of it that he's kicked in the literal, it's literally called the swamp. And they're one of those like, okay, if at least he's like he's not kicking on like some perfect turf field or something like that. He's kicking on real grass that gets crappy when it rains because it's Florida and all that kind of stuff. So I'll give him that side. But, yeah,
I've seen
we need to
people
see him
who have-
kick in the cold. Yeah,
Right,
I
but
agree.
we've seen people throwing videos of him kicking like 70-yard field goals and shit like that, and it's like, yeah, but he's in a facility. That's not 70 yards in open air. You know, that's why we used to joke that if they really want a good kicker, you know, cross-train Whelan, because Whelan was out there, you know, making videos of him kicking 70-yarders in open air and with the wind and all that. But you know, I'm not going to degrade it. If we can get rid of McAnus, then, you know, that'll make me happy.
That's already a job well done for Gudikun. Like I said, and I know some people were like losing their minds over it. Jake Shavink, wellness check again. But Gudikun deserves a raise just for signaling that the door is shut on the McManus chapter of this franchise. And yes, I do think they'll keep McManus through camp, or so long as he's not being a bad apple kind of thing. But
I think what they'll do is they're going to give Smack every possible way to win the position.
yeah,
I
so
don't
it's
think
probably gonna
fully
it's
there yet.
yeah. He's gonna have to beat out. He's definitely gonna have to beat out Haversick. But yeah, I think this is one of those.
I'm not worried about that one.
I do
think
hope
Haversick
Haversick comes
can-
back as the practice squad guy. I think
Well,
he's
that's
pretty
what I
gettable
mean.
in that
I
role.
have no issue. What I mean is I have no doubts that Smack can beat Haversick,
Yeah.
but Haversick can still stick around as a practice squad because I
Yeah.
don't think any other team is going to pick him up. You know, he was on the practice squad most of the last season after finally, you know, getting cut. So you know, if they were going to need a kicker, they were going to need it then, and nobody picked him up, and nobody tried to sign him before the offseason. So that one I'm not so much worried
Yeah.
about. It's whether or not, and now that Mr. Bichasia is gone and his loyalty to McAnus, I don't have no doubts that Smack has every possibility to win it.
Yep. But any other thoughts you had? I know I went in the quick and dirty on all the draft picks, but outside of Smack, which is the pick that you like the most?
See, honestly, I like the whole draft. I've seen people who are saying, "Oh, well, this is a C minus draft." Matter of fact, when I was watching on TikTok before we recorded, there was a guy, "Oh, well, this is a C minus draft for the Packers because this is." I don't think so. They got a guy in Cisse who was consistently being mocked towards the end of the first round, beginning of the second round. They got McClellan, who, like we've talked about forever, is a jack of all trades, a master of none type deal that a lot of people were putting hype around. And matter of fact, the rumors were the Packers traded up because there was a lot of hype around McClellan. Burton, I don't know a ton about a Burton because I didn't do our offensive line chat this year, so I didn't really look at any offensive linemen. But you know, from what I hear and what I've seen, you know, I have no issues there. The dentist, you know, I was pretty big fan of the dentist, and everybody knew that was a Packers style pick. I think we were all surprised that he fell to where he fell. I just mentioned Jackson, just mentioned Smack. That was pretty much all of them, isn't it? So yeah, I'm overall happy with the draft. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to give it like an A+ style thing.
Yeah, this is one of those that it could elevate itself to an A+ based on how these guys play. Like I said, honestly, if Smack takes the job and kicks 85% this season, that's an A already kind of thing. Like,
Right.
you just change, like, you look at this past season and you change the Packers kicking to an 85% kicking, they're a 12-win team. Like, kicking legitimately cost them at minimum 2 games, but you can point to 5 games where the Packers lost in part because their game strategy changed because they couldn't count on McManus to make field goals. And we're not even talking about like 50-yarders. We're talking in the 40 and sometimes sub 40-yard range. So,
Sub 40
yeah.
because there was some extra points that he missed. But,
Yep.
overall, the draft picks, I'm pretty happy with them.
Yeah.
Obviously, they weren't guys that I figured that they were going to take pre-draft, but once you got into it and seen what they picked, it makes sense all the way through. So let's go ahead and do the UDFAs real quick and the rookie mini camp, because that's a long list of interesting names.
All right. First off, let's just cross one off the list because I know that it's one there a lot of people are circling the wagons on. Chase Claypool is not getting a deal to come to training camp with the Packers. He was like a late add to the rookie minicamp roster. Packers he's exactly who we thought he was. Probably, honestly, even worse than he was when he last played for like Chicago and Miami, and
he looked. It was surprising because LaFleur said, "Oh well, he's in great shape," but it looked like he put on a ton of bulk, and I was thinking maybe that was like a tight end tryout.
Maybe. I think he still listed him as receiver, but yeah, maybe as the role that they had Lazard in, and he never really wanted to like bulk up, but kind of that power forward slot move role. But so just want to get that one off the list immediately, just because I know that that's
it's one of those that kick the tires and maybe end up on the practice squad or something. And
yep. So just correct me. I'm going off because I can't find any of the sites that
I have
had
the whole rookie minicamp roster.
Oh,
here.
go for it. Let's just
start going with names.
Yes.
So we've got quarterback Kyron Drones from Virginia Tech. I know Moss's kind of.
He is a UDFA signing. As you read the names, I will go through and try to confirm which ones are the officially signed UDFAs as opposed to just the tryout guys.
So
yeah.
Drones was an official UDA. Then you got Aiden Bauman from South Dakota, who's just a tryout.
Yep.
This one is the interesting name going around, and I would love for the Packers to keep him on roster, but I believe he was just a tryout. I don't think he was a actual signing, but that's Isaiah Jacobs from UAB, which obviously people know it's Josh Jacobs' younger brother. I'm skipping some of these because I know that they're from their future contracts, like Damian Martinez and all them. Jaden Nixon from Central Florida, so Sarah Kelleher should be pretty happy with that one. And I believe he was an actual UDFA signing.
He is an official signing, yes.
Mervyn Kenyon, safety out of Nevada. I believe he was one too. TJ Quinn, linebacker out of Louisville. The surprise one there is they have him listed as linebacker, but is he going to play linebacker? Is he going to play safety? Because he's kind of that hybrid. But they gave him a pretty good signing bonus. So that one's interesting. And he's another one that they had a top 30 visit with. Mark Perry, safety out of TCU, I think is another signee. There's two guys here that are really interesting. Spencer Triplett out of North Carolina and Brett Wiesling out of Drake, which Drake is an Iowa school. They're both long snappers. So maybe we can finally get rid of Orsic too. Caleb Junko, punter out of
I'm
Pittsburgh.
not sure.
He's a non-signing. He's a tryout, but they always try to bring in one or two of those guys. Now this one I have a hard time with the first name, but it's Nigelic Kelly out of Central Florida. Another one that Kelleher's probably happy about. RJ Maryland, tight end out of SMU, is another UDFA. Kelly was UDFA too. Maryland is a legacy guy. I can't think of what his dad's name is off the top of my head. Russell, that's it. Alex Afari from Kentucky is a tryout linebacker. Anthony Campbell was a DT out of Miami. Wait, I think it says he's had 1 year in the league, so he must have been a futures contract.
Yes, he's a futures contract.
Okay, Jacoby Jackson, guard out of Mississippi State, was a tryout. Dane Walter out of Wisconsin lacrosse, tackle, was a tryout. Dylan Wade, guard out of Auburn, was a UDFA. Mafi
Yep.
said the other day in Jake and JJ's chat that he thinks Wade has the biggest chance of, or the best chance at making the roster. Dylan Barnett, guard out of Iowa State. Packers fans are creaming over him because he's a former Wisconsin transfer. Guard Josh Geske out of Illinois. I think he's got the better shot at making it from everything that I've seen. And he was a UDFA. And then you got J. Michael Sturdivant, wide receiver out of Florida. And a lot of people are excited about that one too because he was projected to be drafted, but ended up going undrafted. But I think there's like some off the field stuff with him. Maybe.
My whole thing is that he's just never improved from he came in as a highly touted freshman. He played a game in his as a true freshman against Notre Dame, where Cal lost to Notre Dame in like the waning seconds kind of thing. And he just never improved as a player from that point in his career. He's basically been the same guy since. And so the athleticism does pop on film, and he is the reason why I was like, Claypool, like you said, maybe there was a shot as like a true power forward tight end, but realistically, if you're gonna take a chance on this like vertical only tall wide receiver, you're gonna take the swing on Sturdivant because he's younger, has I think better upside than Claypool, but yeah, like it's all gonna be a matter of how well does he learn the offense, can he run all the routes and stuff, because his best routes are like in college are just shot plays, deep overs, like very rudimentary, simple things to where he's running to a spot kind of thing. So there is talent, though. He does high point the ball decently well and all that kind of stuff. But he's just one of those guys where, and like I said, I'm purely speaking from like what I've seen out of him on the field. He's just he's your stereotypical always left you wanting more kind of player. So like that's my book on Sturdivant. But honestly, one of those guys that, yeah, take the swing, because if you can teach him how to football better, you just got him for nothing, basically. So, yeah. Maryland is another one who's really fun because I feel like the team has been looking for an H-back fullback type for a long time, and Maryland fits that role to a T. You know, he's a shade under 6'4", can't really play above 240, and that's the body type you're looking for in that H-back. You know, like they tried Josh Wiley in that role. They even tried Fitzpatrick there, and that's two 6'7" guys where it's like you need that guy to be able to play a fullback type of style of game like half the time. He's basically a half fullback, half tight end, and it's like you're asking a 6'7" guy to lead the running back through the hole and stuff. But Maryland, he's a really good route runner, really good receiving option. You hope that being one more year removed from his ACL tear that he suffered in 2025, he'll be back to being the dynamic receiving option. But a lot of upside there, in my opinion, and really hope he gets a realistic chance, especially because there's basically nothing in the tight end room behind, nothing proven in the tight end room behind Kraft and Musgrave. So
they did bring back Wiley, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. So out of the like non line of scrimmage guys, I think Maryland is the one with the best chance. Nixon has an outside shot, but you'd kind of be rooting for Lloyd to never be healthy kind of thing. Like they're not going to keep 4 running backs.
Right, and I've not heard great things about Nixon. I don't remember watching him, because I think it was the other one that I watched, Montgomery from UCF that I watched. So I don't know much about Nixon, but the stuff that I'm hearing, that I'm not hearing like amazing things about him.
He's a good college running back. I thought the contact balance was solid. Not breakaway speed, but he can take a run 20 yards if you give him the daylight at the line of scrimmage and stuff. has
Is he the
decent
one
hands.
that also has like return experience too?
Yes. Like his first highlight is a kick return for a touchdown kind of thing. So like I think he would have to make the roster that way. But it would be hard because like I said, it would take him showing it would take like multiple things happening, like either you're rooting against Lloyd ever being a contributing player, and or Lloyd stays healthy and they both show they're better pass protectors than Brooks, which is probably not any bit realistic. So, like, I put Jacobs and Brooks as stone cold locks to make the roster, and then RB3, and that's the thing,
right?
yeah, because Isaiah is already they didn't give him the he's going to.
Well, we don't know yet. They haven't officially signed him yet.
I found one where he basically told them that he's taking another opportunity in Miami in like another week or so. So like yeah, like they didn't give it an offer. But yeah, it's like Nick. So right now it's like Jacobs and Brooks locked. Lloyd, it's like they're just begging the sports gods to give him a clean slate of health and an opportunity. And then behind Lloyd, it's like Damian Martinez, who is a really talented player coming out of Oregon State and Miami, and then it's Nixon after that. So he's got to beat Martinez, and then he has to like beat out one of Brooks or Lloyd to get. So yeah,
unless they're thinking of converting drones.
Yeah. So like I said, and then that would be another person who would be ahead of him on the depth chart. So yeah.
I don't know much about drones. I just know Mafi was not very high on him at all. He's just pure athlete, not a very good quarterback from what I understand.
He is the perfect practice squad project player. Like, there's enough arm talent that like you're just taking a home run swing, like you don't even know what pitch is coming at you. You're just swinging for the fences and hoping you connect kind of thing. But those are the liberties you can take when you have a Jordan Love. And I know that, he's not a Malik Willis answer, but you have guys who have played in the NFL ahead of him. And like what's his face? Dylan I can't think of the former Falcons guy. He's not good. Desmond Ritter. Combined his two names. He's not good, but he's at least played in the NFL, and that means something as a backup player, as a backup quarterback.
Can't say he's not good because he's not been on the best teams in the world to be.
That's true too. Yeah. So,
I hate calling a quarterback not good when they've been on not good teams. I even said the same thing about David Carr back in the day. That they picked him number 1 overall, but when you're getting sacked for a record amount of times in a season, of course you're not going to be a good quarterback.
Not just in a season, every season you're threatening to break your own record. But
so, I mean, if you go by that logic, Malik Willis is a bad quarterback because he was not good when he was with Tennessee. So, I always like to give quarterbacks chances until they get on a good team and they can't do it. What's the one from the Browns that the Packers, Deshaun Kaiser,
that was a bad quarterback. Yeah.
Yeah. You gave him credit up until he got on a good team, and then once he got on the good team and still suffered, then you knew that was a bad quarterback. So.
Yeah. And then the other one who deserves talking about, like you said, is Nigel Kelly. I looked it up, and that's the phonetic that the Packers website has. So, yeah, like you said, it's probably going to be another Tunyon situation if Kelly makes the roster and all. But fun highlight film, has enough athletic profile that you could see him making some moves. He's a 7'6" Raz. Size-wise, he's a slightly lighter than they like, but long arms, big as 35-inch arms, over 10-inch hands, and you see his explosiveness, when he gets off the line of scrimmage. Speed is okay, but, he profiles speed-wise like Inagbare did. So, they've made that kind of player work, is what I'm getting at. So, he has a rough time making it because basically ahead of him on the roster, and I know they're not all the same type of edge, but you've got Parsons, Lucas, Sorrell, Dentist, Oliver, Cox. So those are 6 guys already, and I'm sure I've missed someone, but that's 6 guys already who are some degree of lock because, Cox got a new... I know it doesn't... It's like as low of a deal as possible, but it is still like they brought him back for a reason kind of thing. Oliver, they never really got to see play last season, and they still have him listed as a defensive end, so I still put him in the edge room. Excuse me. And yeah, so it's an uphill battle for Kelly, but he's a guy where he might get like 1 game in the preseason, and if he shows well, they might just be like, "Oh, you're cut," and like that kind of thing. Or they just don't play him very much in the preseason. Like they play him 1 game, a lot of snaps, and then it's like, "Oh, we need to get Colin Oliver. We need to get the guys who didn't play a lot last year. We need to get Oliver and Cox a lot more snaps to rehab off their injuries that they dealt with last season," kind of thing.
And I
then,
think
yeah,
TJ Quinn is going to be the same way because the only his agility grades weren't great, but the only thing that really knocked him down on his rest was his size. 6 foot, even 25.
The funny thing is he has longer arms than a lot of guys taller than him, and
yeah,
in all seriousness, arm length is one of the things that help with tackling more than anything else because you can actually wrap your arms around the ball carrier. So.
And the big thing with him is, like I said, is he going to play safety? Is he going to be a linebacker? I think he's going to make his bones by being a special teams ace and getting on the field that way.
He has to make the roster like Joe Thomas did back for like the mid-2010s teams.
Yeah, I got to look it up. I thought they re-signed Nick Neiman, but...
I thought they did too, but they gave away his number, so I guess not. Yeah, I thought the same, but yeah, I guess not.
Unless he changed numbers?
Hold on. But yeah, I thought I read the same somewhere that either he had re-signed or maybe it was just that they expect him to... Oh no, that's what it is. Because Wilson's gone. He's wearing his Iowa number. He's 31 now. There we go. But yeah, I was like, when they were like, they were announcing what number Sutton would be wearing, I was like, wait, what? Like, because, they did the...
31 last year. Because remember, Wilson went to 23.
I think they did the like it was last worn by thing, and so and even though and it's the whole like it wasn't a regular season game, but no one wore 51 after he wore it in the preseason kind of thing. So I think they did that. But you're right, yeah. That's why I was like really confused when I saw that like when they did the number announcements, and I was like, yeah, mine initially went to is it Neiman back? But yeah, he is back. all that to say yes, Neiman is back on the roster. So. But yeah, I agree with you that to make it, Quinn is going to have to be a core special teams player who gets dabble opportunities to play some inside linebacker in the sub packages. Anyway, at 225, he's going to only be a sub package linebacker, like a dime or a nickel linebacker anyway. But Gutekunst has been looking for that guy ever since he took over as GM. That's what led to the Oren Burks drafting. You've seen a couple other like smaller, lighter linebacker kind of projects and stuff. So Quinn is just the next in a long line of guys like that honestly go back to Thompson's time as GM. So
they've always wanted that hybrid safety linebacker style.
Yep. So they've added a lot of really interesting guys, and what's nice is that they do mark more on the side of being the athletic upside guys. Like you said, even in Quinn, who's like kind of diminutive size-wise, he has some upside, like his athletic profile upside as an explosive and speed athlete is higher, and he has the like requisite arm length you want at the position, so he can at least like throw his hands in the air and disrupt passing lanes, or get has the reach when he breaks through the line of scrimmage to make tackles and stuff. Like I said, Maryland profiles as a good athlete for even if he is like a fullback H-back type of player. Same for Kelly. He's in the like 7 range on the RAS, but that's still good for a UDFA type, and he has a good build on him. But like you said, like I don't know who to say the standout player is going to be because it legitimately could be any of these guys. You know, obviously with the UDFAs, it depends on who makes the roster. But out of the draft picks, all 6 of them are going to make the roster unless one of them just forgets how to play football. Like, let's be realistic. They're all going to make it. And, excuse me. And, who's the best is just going to depend on who gets the best opportunity and who makes the most of that opportunity. Because I do think that they found legitimate players at every position that they took at every pick they took in the draft. And in UDFA, I think they found guys who fit a lot of their fall over. You know, like they didn't take, they only took Burton on the O-line in the draft. And so they signed a whole bunch of other guys who profile as interior offensive linemen in UDFA. I wish they got a tackle. Yeah.
Before, their starters are pretty well set. It's all the depth that we have no idea what's going to happen with it.
Right.
To kind of go back to the Burton pick, I have a feeling it's going to be similar to the Lane Johnson, Elton Jenkins type thing, where
Lane
they're
Taylor.
going to want to. Lane
Wish
Taylor,
we had Lane Johnson.
Yeah, I pulled the same thing you did. Where they signed him for the 3-year deal, and he was the projected starter, but they drafted a guy that they had hoped would take over, and eventually he did take over. And I have a feeling that's going to be the same thing with Burton and Sean Ryan, that they're going to let Sean start the season at the starter, but there's a possibility that Burton could be that starter towards the end of the season and forever.
Like you said, kind of like you said about Smack, they're going to make him earn it. And whereas Smack, there is a little more like, yeah, we're going to make him earn it, but he is going to be the starter. Burton's going to have to earn it, but they're going to give him every opportunity, and they want him to take that spot. I appreciate what Ryan did for the team down the stretch last season, but I don't think he is the answer for them in the long term at center. And I do think that they are hoping on hope that they have found their guy. Like I said, whether it turns out to be the light absolutely turns on for Monk this season, or Burton proves to be the prospect that, like I said, he was my second, or honestly, where we got him, I like where we got him over where we would have had to take Hecht, the Kansas State, because I figured to get Hecht we would have had to take him round 2 kind of thing, and that's a little too rich for my blood. But yeah, like,
and I'm slowly going to have to start becoming a friggin' Pittsburgh fan with as many Hawkeyes as they've been drafting the last 2 years.
But yeah, they took one of my top 2 center/interior offensive line prospects in this draft. And I do think that, like I said, they won't roll out the red carpet like they will for Smack, but they're going to give Burton a pretty long runway to try and win one of these. Really, it's the center job, because I do think unless Belton just falters in preseason, they want Belton to be the right guard moving forward. So...
And
yeah.
I want to bring this up real quick before our tech issues pop up again. I did see a tweet, and I posted in our draft thing, but I guess it translated for me, but it didn't translate for everybody else, that it was heavily not speculated, but there was a lot of fire to the fact that the Packers were strongly considering Garrett Nussmeier. Had they still had their 7th round picks, or if he went UDFA, they were going to sign him. But I can't remember what team took him in the 7th round. But Chiefs. But had he fallen out and went UDFA, there was strong possibility that Nussmeier could have been a Green Bay Packer. And I guess one of the concerns that I had when we were talking quarterbacks with him was arm strength. Well, I guess he had a cyst taken off his spine, and he never recovered. Well, not that he didn't recover from the procedure, but he was still struggling with his arm strength from that. So if he could have regained his arm strength from even a couple years ago, then Chiefs may have got a friggin' sneaky good quarterback there.
Good prospect. And yeah, he got him in round 7. So yeah. But anyone else you wanted to highlight, or kind of good with where we're at?
I think we're all burnt out on draft stuff at the moment, so I think that's a good place to stop.
I think we're at the point where we need to start seeing them play, because we're just
Yeah.
there's an element of hope wish casting that we're putting on them at this point. So I agree. It was good to go back over. Like I said, we got to talk about the second and third round picks of Cisse and McClellan during our live stream. But it's nice to be able to go back and further review the rest of the class and reflect on how Gutekunst did answering all the concerns. And like you said, I've never believed too much in post-draft grades, but especially this season where it's like Gutekunst had both limited resources and yet still answered a lot of the question marks on the roster, the pressing ones, at especially D tackle and cornerback, and with players who are good, not just with like, oh, he drafted a cornerback, but it's a guy who was definitely around too early kind of thing. Like, he got 2 guys who probably could and maybe should have gone around to 2 rounds earlier than they did. Well, obviously not Cisse because he went in the second, but you catch my drift where, yeah.
Well, like I said, pre-draft, there was legitimate talk of him being an end of the first round, top of the second round guy, and the Packers got him at 52. So,
and even McClellan, the McClellan one makes me laugh because it's like McClellan I saw getting mocked up even into the late second round, definitely early third round, and people lost their minds that Green Bay had the gall to trade up and pick McClellan because Orange was still on the board. Like, that was the basis of a lot of the bashing of that pick, is that like there were better players, and when people pushed on like who are the better players, and like consistently was like, well, Dominic Orange was still available, and it's like Dusty laid it out in our live stream where
his last name was Watt.
Yeah. So I just think that McClellan is both way more versatile, way more athletic, and just a better run defender as is right now. And I think it's one of those two where like McClellan, he has a kind of funky build where he's like a little squatty even though he's almost 6'4". And so like people look at him and they're like, oh, like, so you just kind of took the fat kid kind of thing. But it's like, no, he has better pass rush upside than Orange does too. And he's already the better run defender as well. So it's like, and that's where, like I said, I don't even lose sleep over draft grades, but I just kind of laugh at how people justify knocking the Packers grade down. And it's like, oh, well, they took the wrong D tackle. And it's like, okay, well, who should they have taken? It's like, oh, you wanted them to take a worse player kind of thing. So,
well, and here's this thing too. So at least 2 of the draft picks that we know of have connections to the Packers, because Cisse said his girlfriend is a Packers fan, and McClellan said that his best friend is a Packers fan, which makes me believe Joey Van Zumeren is McClellan's best friend.
He's being all modest, but we know, Joey. We know what you're doing over there. He's like, oh, yeah, no, he's the one guy I didn't talk to. Yeah, Joey, I appreciate you trying to be modest and trying to be unbiased and stuff, but you can tell us we're friends, Joey. Come on. But
you can tell your uncle. Come on.
Yep. Oh, God. Or uncle and cousin.
Shut up, jackass.
But before Joe and I just start shooting the breeze,
I just want to say, thanks for everybody following, our draft coverage. Thank you to everybody who was a guest on here. We've had, this was like the first year that we filled every positional spot minus special teams, but we didn't really ask anybody to come on special teams. But we filled every positional spot for this year's draft review. We had a good group of people come in for the live stream comments. We had new people coming into the comments. We appreciate all you guys. So stick around. We've got a lot of great things coming up. Next week actually starts my off-season, off-topic stuff. So I've got at least 4 good episodes coming up pretty soon are going to be recording soon of off-season, off-topic. But if you guys got any requests of people you want me to bring on to talk to, just shoot us a message, DM us, at us, or whatever, and I'll do my best. I have no problems asking anybody, but I do want to say thank you for everybody who tuned in and followed us through our draft coverage.
Yep. And on that note, we're going to do our usual sign off. Please follow us on your favorite social medias at Ohana_Packers on Twitter, at Ohana Packers Edition on Instagram. Please continue to add followers on Facebook. We're trying to hit our 100 follower or hit the threshold of 100 followers so we can do our drawing. So help us out there so that we can live stream to Facebook in the future as well as on YouTube. Please follow us on your favorite podcasting apps. Give us a like and a subscribe if you're enjoying what you're hearing. And as Joe said, please keep sending us your comments, questions, thoughts. We enjoy reading them and bringing them up on our shows. It gives us an extra talking point, something to dive into. And that way, it helps us connect with our followers. So please continue to contribute on your end as well. We want to create the content you're looking for. And on that note, go Pack Go and aloha.
Packers fans out here to stay. Cheeseheads green and gold all day. Jordan Love lead us to the bay. Every game we find a way. Green Bay hustle, grind it up. Hit the field, we don't bluff. Touchdown dances, feel the love. Jordan's got that MVP stuff. It's time for let's go. Packers bringing that show. It's time for green and gold gonna glow. Lambeau Field, our sacred ground. Feel the vibe, hear the sound. Packers fans so loud and proud. Jordan Love, he's wearing the crown. Lambeau Field, our sacred ground. Feel the vibe, hear the sound. Packers fans so loud and proud. Jordan Love, he's wearing the crown.